Game over, man.
Welcome back to the KO Game Room, and for tonight's review, I've got 3 supercars, 4 different highways, and 1 sarcastic gas station attendant because it is Test Drive 2, the Duel for the Super Nintendo. Developed by Distinctive Software and published by Accolade, Test Drive 2 was initially released in 1989 and got versions on many home computers and consoles of the era before landing itself on the Super Nintendo in 1992.
Test Drive 2.
An early entry into the driving simulation genre, Test Drive 2 was impressive for its time. This is the first game that I ever personally played to feature real cars and ultimately laid the groundwork for my obsession of the Ferrari F40. I remember renting this game several times from our local Video King when I was a kid. And just to piss me off, my dad would redline the Ferrari, causing the engine to blow up. And I still really haven't forgiven him for that. But the F40 wasn't the only car you could select. You had the choice of 3 exotic cars to beat the hell out of, including, of course, the Ferrari, which was the most well-rounded, but also the Porsche 959 with its quick acceleration and its excellent handling. And finally there was the Lamborghini Diablo, which has the highest top speed of the 3, but basically couldn't make a 5-degree turn at 40 miles an hour without squealing the tires. On this version of Test Drive 2, you'll find yourself breaking the speed limit all over the United States, on the highways of the East and the West Coast, as well as the Southwest and somewhere near Mount Rushmore. You can elect to run a time trial, but I find that much of this game's challenge is not only navigating the highways, but also trying to outrun your opponent. So before the beginning of each course, you are given the option to choose any of the 3 available cars to race against. Your opponent is controlled by the computer, of course, as this is a single-player game only, and it's a shame, really. I think this would have made for some really intense races if a multiplayer option was added. Along each course, you will be chased by at least 1 police officer, and your difficulty setting determines the speed of their car. If you let the officer get in front of you, it's all over. I do think it's funny though, how after being busted for reckless speeding you aren't thrown face first under the hood of your own car and detained. I mean really, he doesn't even ask you for your license. At the end of each race, you'll stop off at a gas station to fill up your gas tank. The names of these gas stations are pretty creative, and it's reason enough to keep racing just to see them all. But what I find even more entertaining is the jerk who fills up your tank in 3 seconds flat. He always has something to say like, "This car can go faster," or "Don't quit your day job." Alright, first of all, driving a car like this is pretty much indication enough that I don't work some 9-to-5 day job. Second, working at a gas station in the middle of nowhere, I doubt you see many cars at all, let alone Lamborghinis, so don't tell me what my car can do. And finally, how the hell are you working at every single gas station I end up at? I must be 100 miles away from the last place we met, and I've had my foot to the floor since then. Is this some kind of a joke? What are you staring at? There isn't anything over there. Don't ever touch my car again. Another interesting feature is how you select the transmission for your vehicle. In the options, you'll notice 4 difficulty settings, with the easiest 2 having an automatic transmission setting indefinitely. Now this doesn't really bother me, but it seems silly that they wouldn't leave the difficulty and transmission options separate. But this was an early driving game, and I guess there wasn't a standard for that sort of thing yet. It's there in the options menu that you can select the music for your driving experience if you want any, that is, because each of the cars has their very own unique sound, which is beautifully rendered by the Super Nintendo's excellent dedicated stereo sound processor. Of the two versions of this game that I own, the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo version is far superior in every way. And while the Sega version isn't bad by any means, if you own both consoles, this would be the version to track down. Test Drive 2 isn't a terribly rare game, but I find that it is relatively uncommon. It's one that I almost never run across in the wild. It seems to be the most common on the Genesis, and I've never come across a computer version of this game in the wild. That being said, it isn't a very sought-after game either, so you shouldn't pay a fortune for this one whether you find it online or in person. Thank you for watching this episode of the KO Game Room, and if you enjoyed this review, be sure to check out the other shows on the KO Retro YouTube channel.